Hello, welcome up for another Ruby and Spire. I didn't have any problems with the last one. It's been about 2 weeks, so I wasn't told off. I had some strikes with the old ones, so I took it down for reasons. Now that it's not a problem, I'm going to redo them. No words, so there wouldn't be a problem. Right. Let's get started then. Chapter 2. Keith hummed as he was woken. He smiled as Klance kissed down his side of his face. Klance, he mustered, reaching out. The blue paladin chuckled, taking Keith's hand. Come on, it's time to get up. Klance placed a kiss to Keith's knuckles. The red paladin groaned, turning his head to bury his face in the pillow. No, I don't wanna. Would you rather Allura come in and get you herself? Keith raised himself, glancing at the pillow. No. Klance laughed, leaning to kiss Keith's cheek. Come on, hot stuff. Shiro's in charge of training today. The red paladin nodded. Good. Allura's insane when she's in charge. And after last night, I'm not sure I want to do anything. Keith. Klance rolled his eyes with a smile. All we did was make out. Granted, it was for 2 hours, but still. Keith huffed, dragging himself out of their shared bed, only in his boxers. It's still exhausting. Klance stood up from his squatting, then sat on the edge of the bed. But good. Tiring, but good. Keith wiggled into his pants, then gasped as Klance was pulled into Lance's lap. Klance! Klance hummed, dotting kisses over Keith's shoulders. Keith laughed as Klance squealed him, arms wrapped around his middle. Klance. What? Klance propped his chin on Keith's shoulder, giving him a big puppy eyes. I need to finish getting dressed so we can eat. Keith placed his arms over Lance's. Come on, you got to get dressed too, and you've got to let me. Klance huffed, but let go of him. Okay. About halfway to the dining room, Keith began to feel slightly nauseous. He knocked his head a couple of times and kept pace with Klance. He leaned on Klance as they walked together. Klance looked down to Keith, but didn't question him. No one else was around, so no one would see. The blue paladin hummed, arm slipping around Keith's waist. Before the door to the dining room slid open, they separated themselves from each other. Klance yawned and stretched. Morning, guys. Hump grinned. Morning. You made it here with Keith? Alive? Klance shrugged as he sat beside Hunk, and Keith sat beside him. We barely talked, so it wasn't half bad. Keith stared at the table, trying to not think about how his stomach twisted, or how lightheaded he felt. Hey Keith, you okay? Pidge leaned closer after handing him a plate. Yeah, I'm fine. Keith shook his head again and raised his fork. Full of goo. Keith took a bite. He could barely chew. He wanted to just spit it out, but he swallowed it. Keith dropped his fork on his plate and leaned over, placing his hands on his stomach. Keith? Shira spoke this time. Keith, are you all right? Keith breathed deeply, looking up. Great, now everyone's looking at him. Keith pushed himself to his feet. Fine, I'm fine. His stomach lunged, and one of his hands threw over his mouth. Without another word, Keith rushed out. He didn't make it far from the dining room. He fell to his knees, forearm pressed onto the wall, as everything was just forced itself out. Keith gasped and coughed, not looking up at was circles were rubbing smoothly into his back. Keith panted, trying to relax. Feel better? No. Keith groaned, and Lance chuckled. Shiro sighed from beside them. All right, Lance. Will you take Keith to his room so he can rest? Yes, sir. Lance muttered, but didn't try and force Keith up yet. Thank you, Karan. Thank you. Karan and I will clean up this mess. Why must I? Because you're the only one who knows where the cleaning supplies are, Shiro muttered. Everyone else, head to the training deck. Lance, I want you there too. All right, Lance nodded. Shiro then watched as everyone left. Ready to get up? Keith shook his head. It's so gross, he whined. Lance huffed amusedly, then shrugged off his jacket. He lay it over Keith's shoulders. Come on, hot stuff, let's get you to bed. The red paladin groaned as he was helped to his feet. Hot stuff. I'm not hot while I'm puking my guts out all over the castle. Well, no, Lance muttered, letting Keith lean on him again as he led him down the hallway. But I'm sure I can handle that. You're just sick, is all. You'll be better by tomorrow. Maybe we'll stop by our planet. Hunk can grab some ingredients and make you some soup for you. Keith hummed, closing his eyes. That sounds good. I can't believe we managed to hide this from everyone for almost a month now. I know, it's been a whole month since we ducked. For the first time, the only time. Lance sagged, then laughed as Keith weakly punched his chest. Is that all you think about? No, Lance hummed softly. I like to think about your smile too. Sometimes I think about your smile. Sometimes I think about how you sing in the shower. Keith groaned, hiding his face in Lance's jacket. Lance chuckled. But mostly I think about how hot you were. Lance! Keith shouted, smacking him again. You're such an arse. The blue paladin groaned and kissed Keith's forehead. I know. Keith spent most of the day cleaning up the mess that was his room. He wasn't nauseous as the day went by, but he didn't dare leave his room except to try and eat during lunch and dinner. After dinner, he walked back to his room with Lance, their fingers occasionally brushing but never entwining, until they finally were behind closed door. Lance grabbed Keith, pulling him, brushing against himself as their mouths crashed. Lance pulled Keith up by his thighs, and Keith wrapped his legs around Lance's hips. Keith's fingers tangled in Lance's hair. Lance panted as their lips broke apart. The blue paladin winked as he licked his lips. Dare I say hot stuff, but you're getting better at this. Keith groaned for the uptime time that day, and pulled Lance into another deep, heated kiss. Lance chuckled into the kiss, taking a few steps to find the bed before sitting on the edge. Keith suddenly pulled away, staring at Lance. You okay? Do you feel sick again? What? No. Keith shook his head, leaning back. You're not expecting sex out of this, are you? Like you've been expecting? No! Lance shouted up at Keith. And have not. I've just been very open to that option. Keith narrowed his eyes at Lance. Not just very open. As you say, you were hoping for sex, weren't you? Lance sighed. Can't you blame a guy for hoping, hot stuff? Ugh. Keith pulled himself off Lance. The blue paladin whined, grabbing for him like a child. No, wait. Stop. Hot stuff. Stop. Keith shouted at Lance, pushing his hand away. Just stop, Lance. Lance scrambled, looking away. You know I wouldn't do anything without asking first, right? He muttered. Keith rolled his eyes. Oh yeah? Like how the other night when your fingers slipped down my pants? Alright, yeah. I think we both know that I'm an asshole. Okay? Lance stood up and offered his hand out to Keith. Tonight we'll just lay down, okay? I know you're not feeling good, so we'll just sleep. The red paladin slowly relaxed. Just sleep? Lance nodded. No reaching into my pants? None of that, he nodded, more firmly, taking Keith's hand. I won't even kiss you if you don't want it. A small smile curled Keith's lips. I wouldn't go that far. He tugged Lance down enough to press his lips softly to Lance's. Lance hummed. Lance shrugged off his jacket and kicked off his shoes. Bedtime, he muttered, flicking off the lights, before he jumped onto the mattress. Keith raised a brow. Lance kicked off his jeans while pulling his shirt over his head. Keith shook his head, but kicking off his pants and grabbing Lance's jacket. He tugged it on, then crawled into bed beside Lance. Only sleep? We're just sleeping. No funny business. No reaching for places I'm not allowed to touch. Good boy, Keith teased, kissing Lance's nose, before wrapping himself in his arms. Good night, Lance. Lance hummed softly, nuzzling into Keith's chest, with his amusing circles around his waist. Good night, hot stuff. Right, that's the end of chapter 2. Hope it sounds okay. I'm a bit rough with my throat. Anyway, I hope you guys are right, and upload soon.